Hello. In this video on Europa Universalis 4, I'm going to talk about a bonus that's sometimes called useless, attrition reduction. Attrition reduction prevents soldiers being killed by hostile environments. For new players, long wars in EU4 often means running out of soldiers. Patriotism and national identity weren't normal ideas in EU4's timeframe, and terrified villagers often hid their young men from conscription officers. What the king didn't know, he couldn't draft. So every country in EU4 can run out of recruits sooner or later. I often play as England, and for England, this scenario happens sooner. Unlike other kingdoms, your nobles aren't there to muster your young men. England has plenty of sailors, but sailing is skilled labour. The navy pays bonuses for captured ships, and the army doesn't pay much at all. For any country, a common solution to manpower problems is to choose the quantity idea group early in the game. The first idea, levy en masse, gives 50% manpower extra. However, you only get 8 idea slots and you have to balance 3 idea categories as well. Losing a whole idea slot to solve a single problem is not terribly efficient, so adopting the group just for the manpower is a bit of an ask. So why not tackle the problem from the other direction? If you're having manpower problems, can you just stop losing men? Maybe. If you could cut down on losses, then your effective manpower increases. Effective manpower would be your raw manpower pool plus active armies divided by loss rate. We'll ignore manpower replenishment for now. If one has 100,000 soldiers, including standing armies, and one loses 50,000 soldiers per year, then a campaign can only last 2 years. If you can cut down your loss rate by half to 25,000 a year, then you can campaign for twice as long, 4 years instead. Or you can send some young sons back to their terrified mothers. Definitely the moral choice, but it's up to you. You've still doubled your effective manpower. The more you reduce your loss rate, the greater benefit you get from reducing your loss rate even further. So, the first 10% reduction in loss rate increases your effective manpower by 11%. The next 10% reduction by nearly 14%. The next 10% reduction by just under 17%, and so on. Reducing your loss rate by 50% doubles your effective manpower. By 67% triples it, and by 75% quadruples it. Reducing your loss rate by 80% quintuples it. In theory, you can make your effective manpower limitless by suffering no casualties, which is getting ridiculous. In reality, nasty wars mean you're going to lose battles and suffer punishing losses. Being able to slog it out despite failure can be a fun part of the game. But the mathematics and in-game morality of reducing army losses are quite compelling. Reducing army attrition is like reducing your loss rate. The catch is that battlefield casualties aren't reduced. So any soldiers you lose in battle, you lose normally. The game does tell you how many soldiers you've lost to attrition. The war progress window, peace summary, and game ledger all give you the numbers. I recorded my losses for each war as England till the year 1600. For 16 wars, 40% of my losses on average were due to attrition. The other 60, of course, were battle casualties. However, there was a huge diversity within my dataset. In one short war, I lost no manpower to attrition, while a minor campaign in West Africa resulted in a whopping 84% attrition. The standard deviation of my data was nearly 25%, and the median attrition was 34%. I didn't choose any ideas or policies that reduced attrition. So why the big difference? Well, if your army is very good and the enemy's isn't, you don't suffer many battle losses. Technology differences, discipline advantages, and army drill all help here. If you're campaigning in difficult terrain during harsh winter, conducting long sieges, or just overburdening a province, then you suffer attrition. In my West African campaign, both factors occurred. I had a weak enemy and difficult terrain and many sieges, hence the 84% attrition. Something similar happened in Europe. When attacking Burgundy while enjoying a tech advantage, I lost 78% of my soldiers to attrition, and only 22% to battle. Given these examples, how useful can reducing attrition be? What's the best it can do? Firstly, the maximum attrition reduction is 80%. Taking the most generous case, my West African campaign, and reducing attrition by 80%, I could have reduced my total losses by 67%. That counts as trebling my effective manpower. Very good. So in extreme cases, attrition reduction is very useful. But an 80% reduction is hard to get. So let's go for 50%. This is something I've done before myself, and there are 2 common ways to get there. First, complete the defensive idea group for the first 25% reduction. then get either the Humanist Defensive Policy, the Preparation Act, or the Innovative Exploration Policy, Superior Supply Systems, for the next 25%. Quantity ideas provide a 10% attrition reduction as well, but I'm not going to cover that. Nor am I looking at the ideas specific to particular nations that reduce attrition. Using the West African campaign as an example, a 50% attrition reduction would have reduced my total losses by 42%. I'd have lost men at 58% my normal rate on average, so my effective manpower would have been 72% more than my raw total. Just to underline how good it is to stack attrition reduction, assuming I was using the defensive idea group, the first 25% reduction would give me a 27% boost to effective manpower, while the second attrition reduction would give a further 45% boost. However, these reductions matter less if there's little attrition. A military with 67% attrition cuts their total losses by a third if they have 50% attrition reduction. This creates a 50% increase in effective manpower. At an attrition ratio of 40%, however, effective manpower increases by only 25%, and at 15% attrition, you only get an 8% bonus. Of course, when you suffer no attrition at all, a hefty attrition reduction is a worthless asset. So, with a big attrition reduction, you want to specialize in high attrition warfare and minimize your own battle losses. You can avoid casualties by relying on allies and vassals in combat, or by having better quality armies than the enemy. You might even be able to siege race your way to victory. However, a human wave battle plan is probably the worst technique for a low attrition military. Sending in one low quality army, letting it be mauled, and then sending a second reinforcing one costs a lot of lives. If you've got an enormous reserve of raw manpower, sure, you're a horrible human being, but you can do it. For this video, I'm assuming that manpower is scarce and life isn't cheap. If you have high quality armies and don't want to lose them, then attrition reduction is probably for you. With luck, skill, and fewer deaths, not only can you keep armies in the field longer, but your soldiers may actually return home once the war is done. That's all for now. Please press like if you enjoyed the video, dislike if I disrespected quantity ideas, and comment if you wish to pass further judgment. Take care.